Hi guys, it's Jo. I'm the Millennial Knitter and welcome to my first ever podcast. Today I wanted to take you on a little knitting journey with me, talk about a few things, some of my works in progress. I've got a couple with me to show you, what I'm planning, some ideas for my little stash that's been developing, and just talk to you a little bit about where I'm at with my knitting at the moment. I hope you'll join me. What am I working on? Well, right now I've got 3 works in progress. I've realised over my last 6 months of knitting that I am not a monogamous knitter. I need to have a couple of different projects on the go, otherwise I just get sick of one. Or when there's a problem and it needs to go into timeout, I need something else to work on. So I'll start with my smallest, but probably my proudest work in progress. So I decided, having done a couple of jumpers and things, that the next big challenge really was socks. So behold, an actual sock, one whole sock. I decided to make these guys as a gift for my mum. We're doing some hiking together this summer and I'm hoping that by the time we get to the hike in June there will be 2 socks, not just one, as I think it might be a bit of a hop. But I decided to try my very first sock knit and enjoyed. It's not quite the right word. Feel very proud of it. Knitting in 3D is like witchcraft. I decided to go with the one sock pattern on the recommendation of my favourite podcast, the Make Good podcast. And I have to say, even for a total novice, it was very clear. The instructions were really clear and the videos were brilliant. I don't think I've done a perfect job, but it fits me. It's a sock. It exists. It used a ton more yarn than I was expecting. So I used, what did I use? This lovely stuff called Socks Yeah by Coop Co-op Knits, which is 50 grams, superwash merino and nylon. Got it from my local yarn store in Richmond, which I might do a little video of at some point if they'll let me, because it's gorgeous. And it's used up a fairly good chunk of both of my balls. So I've got 2 bits left. The other reason I decided I was able to actually try sock knitting is that I found these guys, so little tiny circumference sock needles. I just couldn't get on with magic loop. I don't know about you, but magic loop is not my friend. These, on the other hand, sore on my hands, but not 17 cables to have to manage, so this worked pretty well for me. So yeah, that's progress. That was, I think I started that in the beginning of February, maybe the end of January. I'm a terribly impatient knitter, so the foot might be a bit shorter than it could be because I may have done the decreases a bit faster than I should have. But I love him. He's a sock. Hopefully by the time I do my next podcast there might be a second one starting. Maybe this is my inspiration to actually start a second one. So yeah, there will be a second sock. That'll be my second work in progress is in timeout currently. I finished the lovely, I might do a review of this at some point, signage sweater from We Are Knitters, and because I messed up the pattern a little bit, I needed more yarn and then I had some leftover yarn, so I needed something to do with it. So I decided to knit myself a chunky cardigan, a bit kind of similar to the style to the one that I'm actually wearing, although this is a shop bought one. And so I have been ploughing through this big chunky guy. The kind of addition of the neon is just my own fun, just enjoying adding some neon stripes. It's a paint box shawl collared cardigan. I'll put a link to the pattern. It's a free pattern in the notes or something. I'll put the link in there. And I've got through basically the body. I've started to do the decreases. It has a kind of thick chunky shawl collar at the front and contrast cuffs and contrast band at the bottom in this wool. I've started to get to the point of doing the decreases and I've realised that somehow I had, I don't know, done something weird with my stitch count, so I have to rip back and I can't bear it, so it's just sitting in timeout for a little minute until I can face doing it. But it will be lovely and I'm really keen to get it finished quite soon because I'd like to wear it in this weather. I think it would be a really nice layer when it's still cold outside but not freezing. I think something nice and chunky like this would be really lovely. And I picked up some more yarn for it, so I should really get my act together and actually finish this guy. It does knit up quite quickly because it's pretty chunky, the yarn. I think it would be really lovely and soft. I've really enjoyed the jumper that I have, so I think this guy will be just as lovely. I'm really into the neon. The little neon accents I think are really gorgeous. So I must get this back to being a work in progress rather than a naughty project in time out. So that's one of my other projects. And my third work in progress, which I'm very excited about, is this horrible tangled mess here. What this is the Daybreak t-shirt with a couple of modifications. It's another free pattern. It is a really lovely pattern with this gorgeous lace panel at the front. So it will eventually have a kind of lace panel across the front. I've chosen to knit it in a bamboo cotton yarn, this one, which is a Starcraft yarn. This is gorgeous. It feels so soft, and I think once it's washed and blocked or kind of ready, it's going to be really lovely and drapey. And I've also been knitting it with just a 100% cotton drops Paris as a bit of a contrast. So I made life a bit harder for myself. I added the stripe, but my thinking was that the bamboo I was knitting in was so soft, I wasn't sure how the lace would stand up if it didn't have a bit of extra structure to it. So I've added a little bit of the drops at the top there to try and give the panel a bit more structure. Maybe it didn't need it, but that's what I've decided to do. And I added in the stripe. I don't know if you can see, but the stripe, I enjoyed it. The stripe basically is from being once every 4 to once every 5 to once every 6 to once every 7, going up in decreases. I think this is going to be really lovely to wear. It's like I wanted something for spring that was kind of had a nice weight to it but wasn't too warm, and I'm hoping that this will be it. I'm pretty determined to get this off my needles. I've only got the back panel to do really, and I don't think that will take too long, so I'm hoping that this might even get finished this weekend, which would be really exciting because I'd quite like to wear it in the next few days if the weather holds. So that's all my works in progress at the moment. I really want to start some new projects, but I have promised myself that I won't until I finish that t-shirt, and I will try really hard to hold myself to that promise. Plans for my stash. I have done a bit of shopping with not too much of a plan of what I'm going to make with some of it, but I'll show you the ones that I do think I've got an idea of. I am obsessed with sailor tops, you know, those lovely or kind of Parisian blue and white striped guys. So I really want to knit myself one of those. I've bought this, it's drops, how do you pronounce that? Bomull-lin, drops linen. I think that this will be, it's, yeah, 50% cotton, 47% linen, something like that. I have a feeling that this is going to be horrible to knit with, but really, really nice once I have knitted it. I found when I've been knitting the t-shirt that I really struggled to begin with how the cotton feels to knit compared to wool. I'd only knit with wool before, or acrylic, and the cotton feels kind of sore on my hands, so I'm thinking that this might be the same, but I'm hoping maybe for a t-shirt that wouldn't be too much of a problem. I want to try and do a boat necked kind of one. Boat neck, maybe half sleeves or 3/4 sleeves. Haven't quite decided on a pattern, but if you guys have got any recommendations, shoot it in the comments for me. I'll try and leave a link to a couple of patterns that I've got my eyes on that maybe these will turn in handy for. So that's one of the things I want to work on. I did a bit of random shopping. I was up visiting some friends in the Lake District, and this gorgeous little yarn store was having a sale, so I went wild. I got a bunch of this cotton silk sublime, what does it say on the yarn band? Cotton silk DK, 50 grams, 125 yards, 75% cotton, 25% silk, so this feels amazing. And I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 balls of it, so I'm hoping that might be enough to do. What I'd really like to do is a sweetheart neck t-shirt with some little puff sleeves. Again, I'll stick a couple of pattern ideas in the notes, or I'll insert them as pictures, and I think that would be really nice for a top. I love kind of bright colours, so I'm hoping that would be really lovely. Similar random yarn buying, you can see that I was in a spring mood. I picked up 3 of these in, I think it was John Lewis in the sale. They were a bargain. They are 100% eucalyptus fibre, but I've got quite a weird amount of it. So I've got, each one is 100 grams, 165 meters. So whatever 3 lots of 165 meters is, I'm thinking maybe a vest. Maybe a vest would be the right thing. Again, feels amazing, feels super nice. But I'm a bit stuck on what pattern, because I don't think I'm going to find any yarn to match with this because it's such a peculiar texture. So yeah, any ideas for that would be really welcome. And this is probably my favourite of my mini stash, but I don't have very much of it. This is Sublime again. I need to look up the brand Sublime. Baby Cashmere Merino Silk. It's another DK. I think I've got a couple more balls of this, but I don't have a jumper amount. 75% extra fine merino, 20% silk, 5% cashmere. Really lovely. I think I've got a couple more of these. I was going to try and get a match for them. I'm thinking short sleeve cardigan maybe, or I love those ribbed tops. I don't know if I have the patience for an entirely ribbed garment, but I was thinking maybe something ribbed with this. This feels so nice. I think this will be really nice. I should probably make a gift for a friend's baby, but I'm not going to because it's too nice and I'm going to keep it for myself. But it is in my mind that I should probably be doing some gift knitting. I haven't quite got there. And then I have also promised my mum a jumper, and I'm hoping that this Petit wool, whatever I don't end up using for my big chunky cardigan, could make a start on a nice jumper for her. I think what she would really like is one of the kind of classic fisherman's type jumpers, maybe a fisherman's rib, which seems really ambitious, but if I start now, maybe by Christmas. And I'm hoping that she'll like these kind of, she likes dark browns, those kind of warm tones. I know this isn't a jumper quantity, so I probably have to get a couple more, but I didn't want to go too wild until I found a pattern for it. So these guys are hanging out here. That's the neon to finish up the cardigan if I need it. And another beige in case I need that. I don't think that's called beige actually. I think that's ivory. It's its proper name. To finish up the cardigan, so that's those guys. And then my kind of last interesting bit of stash is drops are just the winner, aren't they? So drops Andes, this one, feels so soft. I would say it's actually probably softer than the We Are Knitters. It has a lovely sheen to it. When you touch it, it kind of makes your hands shiny. I think it must be the lanolin or something. But this is an alpaca and Peruvian Highland wool, drops Andes. This is a kind of green, almost heading towards turquoise. It's not quite the colour I'd hoped it would be, but it is lovely. And a chunky grey. I've already got a little cardigan that I made with it. I bought it to make Well Love Knits Cosy Mock Neck Sweater on her recommendation, and it is a really lovely yarn. I would definitely like to make something else with this. I don't think I've got quite a lot of the green, which I'm not crazy about, so this might end up being a gift knit actually, because it's gorgeous. The quality of this yarn is amazing for the price. It seemed to be really reasonable compared to some of the other ones that I've knit with. So yeah, ideas for this, maybe a baby knit. I was thinking maybe something, I've got a godson who could do with something from me. I don't think I've made him anything yet. So maybe something like this would be really nice for him. His mum can be definitely trusted to wash things hand wash. So those two might be my next ones. And then the last thing I wanted to talk to you guys about today was just my little knitting journal. So I'm trying to be a much more organised knitter and keep hold of things like my yarn bands, keep some notes. I tend to just write notes in my phone when I'm going through, but then that gets super disorganised and I don't keep track of them. And I wanted to keep track of all the things I've made. I realised when I started in my first couple of months of knitting, I knit a ton of stuff, and mostly it was quick projects just for the excitement of finishing things. But that's the list of the things that I knit in my first 3 or 4 months of knitting. So I'm hoping that if I keep this journal going, then I'll have a really nice record of all the things that I've knitted this year, all the things I might want to knit, and I want to be a bit more planned with it rather than just kind of getting the edge knit and picking up my needles, because I'm trying to use nice quality yarn. I want to make sure I make the most of it and make projects that I'm going to really love for as long as possible. So I have started a little project wish list. So on here I've got Fisherman's Rib Snood, I've made that was for a friend. Knitted t-shirt, that's my bamboo cotton one that I'm working on. My linen striped top, which I've got my blue and white yarn for. My puff sleeved scoop top, which might be this pink, might be the blue, socks for mum, working on those, jumper for mum, cardi for me. And then what I'm hoping I'll do is be very good and put other things I want in here, so that when I go yarn shopping, I don't just buy random yarn because it's lovely. I actually pick something that's for my wish list. So we shall see if that works. This is my first knitting podcast, so I hope you've enjoyed it. I'm going to be trying to put these out once a month, I think, maybe a bit more often if I've got more to talk about. I've got a couple of other videos on my channel that I'd love you to check out, and I'm on Instagram as well at the.millennialknitter. Hopefully I'll see you over there. And yeah, I am just new at the beginning of my knitting journey. I've only been knitting for about 6 months, so tips, tricks, love to hear them, and I hope you'll continue to share my journey with me. Thank you.